Thank you so much for after this package that I have there on live right now. That will enter into a red line agreement between our division and the FAA. It's almost done. I'm gonna. Or with telling these cases were not to be in our favor, then we would be in a quite a precarious position, having not to make sure that essentially we have the ability to self-fund these projects that we've been moving forward until we're able to draw down on those grant funds. And then once those funds are in our bank, we feel a little more comfortable with it and can move to the next project. So the result has been slowing our roll a little bit. A huge shout out to airport staff and city staff who've worked to try to do our best to get those grant agreements signed and get the projects underway again. But we had about $14 million on the line, and let's see, 400,000 of it went away permanently because the DOT decided not to fund energy-related projects. That's kind of the simplest way I can put that. But we had several other major projects that did move forward, and so I can detail those for you in the Q&A section if you want to know more information. But essentially, we've been able to move forward with 3 major projects, including receiving a $5 million grant back that we thought we had lost forever, but it was resurrected thanks to some work that our congressional delegation did, and that is the expansion of Concourse A. So if y'all have been to the airport lately, you probably have seen how crowded we are on a regular basis multiple times during the day. So this will provide some much needed relief to expand that Concourse A waiting area. So with that frame up, I have just a couple of other notes, and then what I really am excited about showing you today is the launch of our Liftoff EUG campaign, which will be a feasibility study for an even greater expansion of the Eugene Airport. So, granny glasses on. Just some notes for you. Since 2019, our passenger numbers have increased by 41%, and that includes pulling about 14% of those passengers back from PDX, all those people driving up to the Portland International Airport. So we've made some headway there, keeping our local passengers flying local. Even so, 29% of our passengers in our regional catchment area is what it's called. They're making that drive still up to PDX. And with the terminal building at the Eugene Airport at capacity, or frankly over capacity at this point, it's really unlikely that that's going to change until we have additional gates that are added at our airport. And so I just wanted to kind of frame that up for you and then talk a little bit more about the Concourse A expansion that's going to be it's out actually on the street right now in an RFP, and the construction should start this spring. It will add 7,000 square feet to an underutilized connector bridge as a central shared seating area for all of the Concourse A gates. And this expansion also allows for construction of an ADA emergency exit lift. It improves accessibility for all passengers, and we'll have some upgrades to existing restrooms, enhancing safety and overall passenger experience, with the added benefit of accommodating more passengers, job creation, and increased airport revenue. So, as I mentioned, that project was postponed initially, but then was able to be resurrected, and so it's about an $18 million project with that. I mentioned a $5 million in the airport terminal program FAA grant, and then our local share on that is 6.25%. We are also looking at additional funding sources just to try to continue to reduce the financial burden on the airport to build this. It's complicated, but basically because we put the project on hold and then were surprised when we needed to bring it up again to get it done. We didn't want to lose that $5 million grant again, so we just found a way to make the project work. But any additional grant funds that we can get to support that project will be very helpful. So we're looking at a Connect Oregon grant round that's coming up in January, and then also some congressionally directed spending, hopefully. All right, so now we'll go to the liftoff EUG presentation. Thank you, Andrew. He's one of our assistant directors in the back there. He's going to be forwarding slides for me. So how many of you have flown out of the Eugene Airport in the last year? Love that. I hope you're going to lots of fun places. So you already know it's the convenience over driving to Portland, dealing with the traffic, dealing with the more expensive parking, far out parking, and the ease of accessibility. We really just have short walk from our parking lots, quick and friendly security, which shout out to our federal workers who have been working without pay for a very long time now, both the TSA agents, our air traffic controllers, and a couple of other federal employees that work on our airport. I really appreciate all of them, and they have had such great attitudes during this time. We've provided some acts of kindness to them, some, delivering some treats and providing some lunches here and there. So I know they've been appreciative of that, and we appreciate them. The savings, really, we have competitive fares now, and we have for quite some time, and people are figuring that out, and that's why we've seen such passenger growth. Our parking rates are lower, and there's really no need to drive north to stay at a hotel. So next slide, please. The Eugene Airport serves a large region that includes 5 counties. 1.8 million passengers travel through EUG each year, and 71% of those passengers are from our local region, and they choose to fly EUG. But there's an opportunity for almost 30% more to make that same choice and fly EUG. Next slide. So here are our current challenges. We reached airline gate capacity in May of 2021. PDX offers more direct flights, and our airline partners would like to add more at EUG. However, our terminal is at capacity, or as I said, over capacity, and that makes it very difficult to add new destinations. Our facility needs to grow to better serve our region, both residents and visitors. Next slide. So considering all the benefits, imagine if the airport was even better. Next slide. So plans are underway to better serve our community in the near future and for many years to come. First, by expanding our current Concourse A passenger waiting area, which I just talked about. Then, with the addition of a new Concourse C and supporting infrastructure, we will essentially double the size of the Eugene Airport. And this will allow for more commercial flights and better charter facilities for the Ducks, Beavers, and visiting athletics teams. We will also expand our parking with surface lots, which are not shown on this slide. So here's our current route map, and the planned expansion will accommodate even more nonstop routes. So take a look at that, and then here are just some of the routes that are possible with the terminal expansion. Atlanta, Orlando, Boston, Hawaii, these are the routes most in demand. More nonstop flights means the greater capacity in our terminal facility will mean more nonstop flights to more destinations. A dedicated charter facility, perfect for sports teams and special events, and greater convenience for passengers. So now that you've seen the potential nonstop destinations, let's look at how flying out of EUG, instead of driving to PDX for a flight, actually has a lower impact on the environment. Right now, 29% of passengers in our region drive up to Portland to fly. That's nearly 250,000 trips to Portland each year. And if an expanded Eugene Airport can persuade those passengers to fly local, it will keep more than 450 cars off of I-5 each day driving to PDX, eliminating 12,500 miles of driving from our roads daily. And this will save a net 5 metric tons of CO2 pollution a day, or over 3,200 tons per year. So it's a significant lower environmental impact if people are staying local and flying local. So let's compare the Eugene Airport's growth forecast with the new additions. The number of passengers are projected to more than double over the next 15 years. And without an airport expansion, demand, and more importantly, the economic benefit that comes from that demand will go elsewhere. Nationwide, airports support 12.8 million jobs. Now let's take a look at the Eugene Airport's impact on the local jobs and the broader economy, and how this proposal will impact that metric. The Eugene Airport currently supports more than 10,000 local jobs, both directly and indirectly. Personal income, business revenue, and local purchases are all substantial. $43 million a year is generated in state and local tax revenues, and EUG creates a regional economic impact of $1.6 billion. Jobs, with the expansion, you can see the economic impact is even more substantial. Jobs, personal income, business income, and tax revenues more than double. Regional economic impact grows to $3.6 billion annually. So the bottom line is, the sooner we build Concourse C, the sooner we can generate an additional $2 billion a year in economic impact, totaling $3.6 billion a year to our regional economy. So we've identified nearly half of the funding that's needed. However, with traditional bonds, which would be backed by passenger facility charges, we'll have to wait for 30 years before being able to begin work on Concourse C and its supporting infrastructure. Waiting that long is really unacceptable. So we are determined to find new and non-traditional funding of sources. Sources of funding, I think is what I meant to say. Instead of spending 30 years waiting to build the Concourse C through traditional means, let's do it now. Let's generate an additional $60 billion in economic impact. Let's begin realizing the benefits now. Let's capture otherwise lost future income, and let's gain more jobs, more destinations, and a better travel experience for everyone. So this slide shows a QR code. You also have some flyers on your table that include those. You can also fold that into a paper airplane if you want to have some fun. We want to hear from you about your experience at EUG. So this will take you to a 10-minute survey. We'd like to hear from everyone who lives within our catchment area, and please feel free to share this survey with your staff, employees, friends, family. If you want to get updates also on this project as it progresses, you can go to the Liftoff EUG website, and that has actually quite a bit more detail in it to explore. So just a few final thoughts, and then I will ask Councillor Evans to join me up here at the podium. It's really going to be critically important for the expansion of EUG to be high on everyone's priority list, from both the universities within our catchment area, to economic development organizations, to private enterprise, and to our individual citizens that live within our catchment area. We anticipate the creation and formation of a coalition focused specifically on EUG expansion in 2026, a strong coalition that will help us maximize state and federal funding. Enabling projects will take a few more years to complete, so we have an opportunity to gain pledges of financial support over about a span of 4 to 5 years to achieve this. And we'll be working on securing appropriations, additional grant funding to support the 2030 construction launch for the Concourse C, with probably about a 2-year timeline to build Concourse C, with completion anticipated in about 2032. And so through this Liftoff EUG feasibility study, we will be exploring all options: traditional funding, expanded federal support, state funding, public-private partnerships, naming rights, and perhaps benefactor funding. Think the University of Oregon model on that one. So with that, I'd like to introduce Councillor Greg Evans, who has a few more thoughts on this. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank the City Club for the invitation to speak this afternoon about the airport. The airport is near and dear to me because I live 7 minutes away from it. My wife and I bought a house in 2000 in the Bethel area, and we have lived there ever since. Been involved in a variety of different efforts, both with our active Bethel Citizens Organization and a number of other ventures that we've been involved with over the years. Before I came to City Council in 2013, I served on the board of the Fair Board twice, Lane County Fair Board, and also the LTD Board of Directors. So I spent 7 years on that, and I'm partially responsible for the West Eugene MX. One of the things that we have in this community as far as transportation is concerned that has led the country, the rest of the country, in bus rapid transit. So as we are continuing to build our transportation networks, I will also mention that in my role with Lane Transit District, I also served on the National APTA Board, the American Public Transportation Association, and in the National League of Cities, where I was chair of Transportation Infrastructure for the NLC in 2017. So I did a lot of work in that sphere with Councilor Taylor, who is at the front down here, and we've traveled together. Our big joke was people would come up to me and said, "What are you doing with I said, "Look, I'm her bodyguard." Okay, so yeah, I would always tell people that Betty and I would get a kick out of it. Yeah, I'm Betty's bodyguard, so don't mess with her. But to go over and not to repeat a lot of what Catherine has already presented to you, I want to just talk a little bit about the passenger growth at EUG, the fact that in this region we have additional pressures as far as the number of people who are traveling in the Pacific Northwest and the overloads at SeaTac and PDX that are now affecting the regional airports like Eugene, Redmond, down to Medford. Our need for investment in this sector, in this particular sector, transportation, is critical to our development here, our economic development here in Eugene. I can't tell you enough about what we have been trying to do over the years and improve our travel ability to retain, people that are coming here, that are visiting here either for football games or other recreational activities, and that are pumping money into our community and making it so that our children and our neighbors can have good jobs, they can work here, and we can continue our investments in our public infrastructure that is sorely lacking right now. So the investment in the airport is critical, particularly since the things as far as air travel are continuing to change and continuing to grow. That leakage from Portland is going to continue to happen. And so I think that we really need to be prepared and be visionary as to what the Eugene Airport is going to look like in the future and how it's going to stimulate and sustain our economic growth as we move forward. Also, looking at our capital improvement program for the airport. So Catherine did talk about the investments that are critical from our federal government, from our partnership with the federal government in transportation to continue to make this growth happen. I can't tell you about projects that we have had sitting on the table for almost as long as I've been here, 40 years. When we start looking at the development of the airport, the addition of a C concourse, and the expansion of the A concourse so we can take in larger jets and have more traffic. But we also have issue with having the kind of facilities here that's going to attract people for tournaments, soccer, baseball, softball. I have, in the last 40 some odd years, have traveled a lot of miles up and down I-5 only to spend my family's money in another space where we don't have the spaces and the recreation necessary to attract and retain these kinds of tournaments. Lower impact on our environment to some degree. I mean, most of our environmental impact is coming from transportation anyway. But we have got to be able to have good, clean industry that is going to come in here and provide the kind of jobs that our children need. My son and daughter-in-law just bought a house here. And my daughter-in-law's family is from Hawaii. They worked there for a couple of years, wanted to have a family. My granddaughter was born in Hawaii. My son and daughter-in-law also taught in China, and now they're here in Eugene. And looking at the price for housing in this community and our lack of economic opportunities for our young people is incredibly disturbing. So one of the things that I want to make sure that we have happen is that we use the levers that we have in this community for the kind of economic development that we want to see. You know, I want to see kids out there, you know, in off of Highway 99 playing ball and, you know, enjoying our community and contributing the kind of dollars that we want to see that moves around in the community, particularly for our local businesses. So again, wrapping this up, and then I'm going to turn it over to Brittany Quick-Warner, who is our executive director of the Eugene Chamber of Commerce. She can talk to you a little bit more about what the emphasis is, what the vision is. This is one of the few areas in our community where we have a vision for what we want the airport to look like and how that vision integrates regionally across this community and into Douglas County, into Lynn County, Lane County being the center of that we really need to invest in our transportation system, whether that is through the air or through the ground. But we are having continual pressures on that system, and so we're going to have to grow, we're going to have to expand, but we're going to have to do it the right way. So with that, I'm going to wrap this up and turn it over to Brittany, and then I believe we'll be going to Q&A after that. All right? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much to the City Club of Eugene for hosting this conversation. and for inviting me to join you all as well. I love talking about the Eugene Airport. My friends jokingly talk about making me a Eugene Airport fangirl t-shirt. And it's not just because I can roll out of bed and walk on a plane in 45 minutes, which is the joy of my life as a last-minute person, but it's also because the Eugene Airport is one of the clearest examples of a public asset that directly shapes our economic future. I'll start with this. If you care about economic growth, if you care about climate action, if you care about talent attraction, or to Greg's point, retention, if you care about local business success, or just quality of life in this region, you should care deeply about the Eugene Airport. In my role, I talk with employers large and small every single day. And no matter what sector they're in, healthcare, manufacturing, tech, tourism, universities, small businesses, they all say the same thing. A strong airport is essential to a strong and thriving community. It's essential for hiring, it's essential for selling products, it's essential for bringing in customers, students, experts, investors, and it's essential for staying competitive with cities our size and competing, frankly, with cities much larger. We punch way above our weight class when we talk about our airport and communities that we compare ourselves with. And the data proves it. 10,000 local jobs, like Catherine mentioned, are supported by Eugene Airport activity today in our region. The airport generates $43 million a year in state and local tax revenue, and it moves $1.6 billion through our regional economy every single year. Those numbers are not just academic. They translate into paychecks and small business customers, hotel stays, busy restaurants, and the economic engine that keeps this region moving. I know a lot of people here, and I was thinking about this as I was listening to Catherine's conversation. A lot of people hear numbers like 1.6 billion, and they think, okay, but what does that actually mean? So for those of you who don't read economic impact studies a lot, to make it straightforward, first, there's direct impact. So people who actually work at the airport. Think airline employees, TSA, rental cars, food service, maintenance crews. Those are all the local jobs that are impacted. That's our direct impact. Second, there's indirect. So those are the businesses and organizations that rely on the airport. Hotels, tourism, manufacturing that ships goods and services out of our region. Universities recruiting students, tech companies flying in talent, etc. And then there's the induced impact, and that's really where we see a ton of benefit in our community. So that's everyone who earns a paycheck at or because of the airport, and then they go out and spend those dollars in our local economy, at grocery stores, at restaurants, at hardware stores, at child care centers. That money circulates over and over and over again in our regional community. All of that together, today you get 1.6 billion, and with this expansion, you don't just double it, you more than double it. That is the part that we should all get really excited about. With this expansion of Concourse's ANC, jobs more than double, personal income more than doubles, business revenue more than doubles, local tax contribution more than doubles, and the regional economic impact grows. You don't get that kind of return very often. I can guarantee you there are not a lot of assets worth investing in where a dollar creates 2 or 3 more back into the community. But airports are the exception. Right now, we are holding ourselves back. Passenger demand has grown 40% since 2019. That's only 6 years ago, and the terminal supply just cannot keep up. We lose travelers to Portland, like Catherine mentioned, not because people want to drive 2 hours, but because our current capacity doesn't give them the options that they need to fly as frequently or as affordably as they need to. If we want Eugene to thrive economically, culturally, and socially, we have to build the infrastructure that matches that. I have the pleasure of serving on the Airport Advisory Committee, and just recently we created an Airport Advisory Committee Finance Subcommittee to really dive into a handful of things: the long-term financial planning, the capital needs, the growth projections, and how to make sure the airport remains strong and resilient. There's great folks at that table looking at this and really trying to have some deep analysis around what is the right path forward. It's this shared problem solving that I think we need in this community. Here's the big point I want to make. No matter what angle you look at this, economically, from a climate impact perspective or livability, the Eugene Airport expansion is something we should all be able to support. It's more flights, which means more capacity for jobs, revenues, business growth. From a climate perspective, it's fewer cars on I-5. From a livability perspective, as Catherine and Greg mentioned, it improves quality of life. It makes it easier for you to see your family and to take vacations and to attract workers and to host conferences and to stay connected to the world. This project matters to all of us, no matter what angle you look at it from. And it's not a side project. The Eugene Airport expansion should not be a side project. We could very easily look at the numbers that Catherine shared with us and have a scarcity mindset to say that's way too much money for us to realistically put together and achieve this expansion. But I think we should take a step back and figure out, how do we say yes? How do we have an abundance mindset in this moment and realize it's one of the most impactful investments that we could make for the next decade in our region? And we have to do it within the next decade. We can't wait 10, 20, 30 years because that opportunity will go somewhere else. We have it right now. We should come together around a vision that benefits really anyone, like I said, from whatever angle that you're looking at this from. If we approach it with collaboration and urgency and a shared belief in what Eugene can be, and not just Eugene, but this entire region, then I think we can come up with the dollars it's going to take. I think that we can have an abundance of resources and support, and I think we should do it together. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll begin our Q&A quite soon, but first a special thank you to our award-winning public radio station KLCC for airing City Club programs on Mondays at 7 p.m. In Eugene, they broadcast on 89.7 FM. For those listening at home or in the car right now, your household is one of several thousand tuning into City Club on KLCC. We are truly honored to have you. You can also find all recent City Club programs archived at klcc.org, as well as on our YouTube channel and the City Club of Eugene podcast. We'll have a short break before returning for questions, so feel free to line up and we'll get those questions answered shortly. Thank you.